Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the first meeting in January for the Sylvania Township Trustees. Today is Tuesday, January 7th, and the time is 5:04. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Galloway?
Here.
Mr. Mahoney?
Here.
And Mr. Crandall?
Here.
Mr. Simcoe is absent.
Would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. First item on the agenda is the reorganization of the Board of Trustees.
Well, I don't know what you think, John, but I wouldn't mind just kind of keeping it the same, John. I thought you've done a great job as chairman.
Oh, well, yeah, but I think it's good we rotate.
That's fine.
I don't know, but we do have a lot of things going and a couple of new things we'd like to start. I'd be willing to do it, but would you two be willing to switch, where John would be vice chair and start moving up? I just think that's a good practice to rotate. I mean, I'll do it one more year.
I have no
And I
problem.
get it with annexation
But,
and Darrell's doing a heck of a job, but we're going through a lot of stuff right
yeah.
now.
John, is you okay with that?
I think this board works pretty efficient together, and no matter what seat we're in,
Yeah,
I think we all
I agree.
get along,
I
and our
agree with
voices get
that.
heard, so I'm flexible however we want to do this.
If you want it, you can have it.
Well, I'll be going, and I don't want to put a condition on, but I'll be willing to chair. But I'd like to see John become vice chair. Now, the only problem might be, well, it's a little early. I don't know if you're running and want to be chair. That might be good, that might be bad. But you probably don't know if you're running or not.
Way too out.
You know how that
for
goes,
me,
that's all I,
Never say never, but certainly it doesn't look good from here.
well, I don't know, what do you,
I'm good with it. I think he could have said it best. I mean,
all right.
we all work well together, so.
I'll be willing to accept the nomination for another year, and then I would nominate John as vice chair. And now, if we have a fire levy, you can, no, I'm only kidding.
It's all good.
All right. Let's do that formally.
Yeah.
I'll offer, well, there's no motion for it, just placing John Crandall as chairman and John Genowine as vice chairman.
Second?
Okay, Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the December 17th meeting. I will move approval.
Second.
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
You're gonna be busy tonight, Sam.
Yeah, you're busy.
Get on this.
Next item is set the meeting schedule and also the starting time for the board meetings. At the last meeting, I think we decided on keep 6 o'clock for the zoning matters. Mr. Turner? I don't know if you've got the schedule, I haven't seen it, but I assume we're talking about first Tuesday, second Tuesday, and then if an adjustment's needed, we'll do that during the year. And I know you and I talked and recommended 5 o'clock. And I think we sent an email, but I don't know what the other two trustees think. But kind of keep the things the same as last year. So if that's all right, I'll make that motion. I'll make a motion to approve, Resolution 20001.
Second?
So that's keeping the meetings at 5 and keeping the zoning meetings starting at 6.
At 6.
Call roll, Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes. Next item is to establish trustee board appointments for next year. And we have a resolution on that, and I think I've got, hang on a second, I have it here. Yeah, first one is enterprise zone, and that's usually the chairman of the board, and I'm okay with that. The health department district's chairman of the board. The Sylvania area joint recreation district is Dave Silko. He's served 1 year. He's willing to continue, but if that's fine with you, well, let's go through the whole list and then we'll talk about it. The next one is SCAT. Neil, that's you right now.
I did talk to Oliver about that, maybe he could help, because a lot of times I have a conflict the night of those meetings.
Yeah, I don't know
Every
if
month
that-
I'm constly telling him, I can't make that meeting, or, other than
Well, you
support.
stay on for life. I was
Yeah.
on, I went off, I still get all the notice.
I've talked to the board about it, other than writing checks, to support it financially is all I've ever done, really. So,
I'm not sure if I ever can do it, though. It may have to be an elected official, I don't know. Do you know, Oliver? SCAT?
I would have to reach out to SCAT to confirm that, but certainly I would take
he
it.
can help me,
from the
him and
board.
I could,
Okay, sounds good.
thanks for offering, Oliver.
Thank you.
Doesn't sound like it. Okay, all right, next one is Toledo Metropolitan Council Governments, I'm okay with that. Sylvania Area Community Services, Neil?
Yeah, I'm still on that.
Okay, and, well, you're also the member, that's good that it's one person. Those are two different appointments. And then Tax Incentive Review Council, Mr. Zeidler was on there, and I've talked to Oliver. I think he'll take his place. And then I think you're on there also. I don't know, do they meet? I don't know if they've ever met since I've been here, I don't know, I've never been on it. But anyway, we'll make those appointments. And the EMS board, John, are you comfortable staying with that?
Yeah.
That could be a little busy, but that's good. And then we have also then the 9/11 board. That's Mike Ram and you again, John. Are you okay with that?
Yep.
All right. Township Investment Committee, Neil?
That's fine.
All right. Sylvania Fall Festival is Mike Ram. I don't know if Mike's here, but that's...
In the back.
Okay, you would have got appointed either way, Mike. All right. And I'll move if everybody's set, then I'll move resolution 24-002 to establish the trustee board appointments for 2020.
Second?
Okay, call roll, Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is to approve the mileage for next year for when employees use their own vehicles, and I think that's 57.5 cents this year, IRS. And I'll move resolution 20-003, establish the vehicle mileage rate for 2020.
Second?
Call roll, Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes. Additions or deletions to the agenda? You have anything, Mr. Turner?
Nothing further, Mr. Chair and Board, thank you.
Okay. Hearing of the public for agenda items, when I looked, there was no one signed up. Would you double check that, Sam? For agenda items, there was, okay. We do have sign-ups for non-agenda items. Next is the fire department. Chief?
Good afternoon. I only have one resolution. It's Resolution 20-013, resolution to approve establishment of battalion chief positions within the fire department. As most people know, as of next Friday, the 17th, Chief Freilich will be retiring, so this is a little bit of structure change within the department to even out some of the stuff that Chris and I will end up having to do at the end with Mike leaving, so that's what this is at.
I'll offer resolution 20-013 to approve the establishment of the battalion chief positions within the fire department.
Second.
Call roll, Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next item is the administrator. Mr. Turner?
Hey, real quick, Mike, we gotta have like something for Mike when you're gonna be gone. When are you leaving, Mike?
Next Friday.
So you're gonna come back for the next meeting, at least so we can give you a hug or something like that, or?
I'm sure we can pull something.
All right, let's try to do that. All right. I won't hug you.
Good thought.
Well, good evening again. First, reference Resolution 20-006, which is the approval of a collective bargaining agreement with the International Association of Firefighters. As trustees are aware, administration has been engaged in negotiations with the townships of various bargaining units for the past several months in order to establish successor agreements beginning on January 1st and replace those agreements which expired on December 31st. Presented for consideration by the trustees tonight are the negotiated agreements which could be approved by the board, with the IAFF covering the unionized employees of the fire department, and further in the agenda, the OPBA covering the unionized employees of the patrol and command bargaining units. As administrator, I'm pleased to report to the board that negotiations provided all parties an opportunity to engage in dialogue and negotiate mutually agreed upon terms and conditions of employment. The overall tone was productive, professional, and civil. The outcomes of the agreements would include a smooth continuation of the high-quality services rendered by our team to the taxpayers, wages in line and competitive with comparable communities, and the crafting of language which clarifies or improves operations. At this time, I would be glad to answer any questions regarding the first agreement in front of the trustees. Thank you.
Just want to thank you and congratulate you on your first time through the negotiations. I've heard nothing but good things on everybody's side, so thanks for everyone's efforts.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was certainly a team effort with the department heads and Janet and Mr. Walter, as well as with the employees coming through, having been here 6-7 months, to be able to not only use the process to work on an agreement, but learn about the operations and really get to know everybody was really a great timing to be able to come in and start the process. Thank you.
I don't know if that's good timing, but they went real well, and I appreciate the executive sessions, keeping us informed as to progress. I really like a 3-year agreement. The ones on here are 3 of our 5 unions. Looks like we're pretty successful there, and I hope we'll be with the other 2. I'm wondering, I would like to combine the 3 resolutions and approve them rather than separately. If there's no objection, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 20-006 with the firefighters, Resolution 20-007 with the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association for Patrol Officers, and Resolution 20-008, which is our agreement with the Ohio Patrolmen's Association for Sergeants and Lieutenants.
Second?
Okay, call the roll, Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the resolution. I'm sorry?
Mr. Chairman, can I just say?
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me, Mike.
From our side, it couldn't have gone any smoother with Oliver and Janet. It was outstanding to work with all the people we worked with this time on that contract, and I think Oliver does deserve a little extra on not knowing coming in and what he brought to it this time. Outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
I noticed you didn't mention the trustees, but that's, that's all right. I'm only joking.
I would like to add the trustees.
They didn't interfere. They didn't interfere. Didn't interfere, so let's leave. All right, we'll move on to the next resolution, which is, I think, maybe another combined item anyway. It's a resolution to approve the renewal of various contracts with the Buckeye Telesystem, and it's our 4 fire stations, our 1 police station, and this office here. So it's 6 different contracts. And if there's no discussion, I'll move for Resolution 20-009 to approve these various contracts with Buckeye Telesystem. That's for our phone systems.
Second?
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes. Next resolution on the agenda is 2010, a resolution to remove insecure, unsafe, and structurally defective buildings at 3611 and 3619 North Holland, Sylvania Road. Excuse me a minute. Sue, you're signed up here. Did you want to be recognized on this unit, or do you have something else?
I have an addition to this request.
Okay, well, then that would be, okay. I just wanted to be sure
Thank
if
you.
you're signed up correctly, huh? Thank you. Any discussion on this from the board?
I do have a quick question to Burrell, JB. Hey, so what do we do? We put a lien on it and then we release the lien once they sell the property, or once they want to pay off what it costs to demolish?
Yes, like we do with other nuisances, when we demolish it, the township pays the money, puts it on the tax duplicate, and it's collected like the property taxes.
Okay.
It goes on the property tax bill.
Any further discussion? I'll make the motion, Resolution 20-010, to remove the insecure structure at 3611 and 3619 North Holland, Sylvania Road.
Second.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes. Next item on the agenda, Resolution 2011, a resolution to authorize compensation of the township administrator. As a matter of background, this is a result of our consensus review of the four elected officials on Mr. Oliver's 6-month review. Any further discussion or questions? I'll move Resolution 20-011, authorize compensation to the township administrator.
Second.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes. Next item on the agenda, item number 12.7, Resolution 20-012, resolution of intent to sell property by the internet auction. Oliver, would you like to address that?
Certainly, thank you. This is an annual resolution for the disposition of property through GovDeals. For any items that are sold through GovDeals, it's my understanding that there's roughly a 7.5% fee associated up to $100,000 in inventory. This is something which has been adopted by the trustees on an annual basis at the first meeting of each year through the records that I reviewed back through when the agreement was signed back to around 2012.
I'll offer Resolution 20-012, resolution of intent to sell property on internet auction.
Second.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Neil.
Alderman Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is hearing of the public on 9 agenda items. I appreciate everybody's cooperation. We're in pretty good shape time-wise. At 6 o'clock, we have 2 public hearings on zoning, so I think we can keep on schedule. I'd like to be done.
Somebody ahead of me in line.
Oh, no, I know that.
Okay.
But I just wanted to explain, we'd like to probably close our meeting on the business by, I would say at least 10 or 6, because people will be coming in for the 2 zoning meetings. So first is Bill Taransky, and he wants to address this on the zoning issues, and Bill lives at 8030 West Bancroft. Come on, Bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been having a problem with the cleanup of adjoining property to mine. It's been going on for 2.5 years. I initially filed a complaint on June the 8th of 2017. The family did have some legal issues within the family, held it up for a couple months. They've been cleaning up piecemeal, a little bit here, a little bit there, leaving commercial equipment on the property. On the September 3rd past meeting, there was a resolution to declare the property a nuisance, and it was declared a nuisance at the September 17th meeting. They were given 90 days to clean this up. They got rid of 4 of the 5 cars. There's still a car laying back there on a trailer, some miscellaneous material like tires, so on and so forth. And the trustee of the property owns a small tree trimming service, and occasionally he parks his commercial equipment back there. Well, on November the 3rd, he brought in a big orange truck with a big grapple hook on it to pick up his junk vehicles and dispose of them, which he did, and there hasn't been no activity back there since about December the 2nd, and that's his 90 days. And there was supposed to be an abatement issued if it's not cleaned up, and I don't even know if there's been a follow-up. But what's going on now, this truck, if I may show you a picture of it. Sure. This is what I see from my back door every day. It's a huge truck. And he's got a bobcat back there, and just miscellaneous junk laying around. So now we're past the 90 days. It's an additional 30 days now. Nothing's been done since about December 3rd or 4th that I can recall. No activity back there at all. I don't know if there's been a follow-up with the zoning department on it. No one's contacted me. I've been in touch with Dean several times about this, and I don't know what else to do. This is an ongoing problem.
Got it, Bill. Darrell, can you, I'm thinking you know what he's talking about here. Is that the one that was on the last agenda?
Yeah, we'd asked the question in December how this is going.
It was on the September 3rd meeting and the September 17th.
Darrell, could you address Bill's concerns or bring us up to date? Maybe bring us up to date on the property. I don't know that you can address all his concerns.
Yes, Dean, our zoning compliance officer, was out there, and he had sent out the email that, to Oliver and myself, that property is now in compliance with the zoning resolution. Mr. Jans has removed all the junk vehicles, farm equipment, and debris as required. Screening has been installed around the open-sided storage shed as agreed upon during the site visit. As far as a bobcat, somebody can have a bobcat on their property. That's not a zoning violation. I'm not sure what commercial equipment we're...
This is the orange truck. He owns a tree trimming service. We've been parked back there for 2 months now. And it's just it's an eyesore. And the bobcat is also his personal equipment for his tree trimming business called Tree Mavericks. And in one of the pictures you can see he's still got an old car sitting back there on a trailer. And there's tires still laying back there, which I'm not really concerned about the tires and little miscellaneous junk in someone's yard. I have not nitpicked on this guy because there's some very serious issues there. And it's dragged on for over 2.5 years. And now junk was taken out with the cars, and now he's brought his equipment into the storage there. I don't understand why.
Well, again, the bobcat, he can store there.
He owns commercial business equipment?
Yeah. He can keep it on his property.
Is it-
He can't have 10 bobcats.
Darrell,
Certainly one.
Is this a corner property on Bill's?
No, it's, I believe it's one parcel in from the corner, maybe two.
I'm on the wrong property then, I think.
This is the one that had the collection, for lack of a better word, of the old vehicles. There was probably about half a dozen of them initially.
And there's one left.
They were sunk into the ground.
Wasn't there tree trunks there too, or?
There's a different one.
Was that a
This is the guy that his wife was sick and was asking for
It was in a
some
state,
time.
and,
Yeah.
yeah.
The one you're thinking of is the same property owner, but a different property.
Oh, okay. All right,
both on Bancroft.
okay. So are we saying we feel the property that Mr. Taransky's here for, are we saying we've done everything we can, or are we saying, I guess, I think I may be mixed up on the two properties, but
No,
I guess I'd like to know where we at, or have we done everything we can?
well, Dean had showed me some photos of the property of what was no longer there, what had been removed as opposed to the original photos. I can check with him tomorrow. I think the truck, he did mention there was a truck and trailer with a car on it. And I believe Mr. Jans had told Dean that he was using the truck to take that car out. So kind of sounds like the truck is still there.
This big one? Yeah, I just took these pictures 2 days ago. And as far as the Bobcat and his equipment that he parks there, he's parked his dump truck there. He's got a big truck with a bucket and a boom on it. And if he brings it in to clean, I didn't say nothing about this orange in there. But it's been a month, and where do you stop commercial equipment on a piece of property? One piece of equipment, two pieces of equipment, three, or none? There has to be a definitive answer.
You can have one commercial vehicle on a residential property that doesn't exceed, I believe it's 12,000 pounds. I would have to double check the zoning resolution. So therefore, the Bobcat, for example, he could have that on his property, just like a lot of people have pickup trucks or things like that they use commercially to keep on their property. A dump truck, I'm going to assume is probably more than 12,000 pounds. So unless that's being used for something at that particular time, then that would be a violation.
Okay, but this orange truck, I look out my backyard, I got this big blob sitting out there every day. And it's not being used. It's been there for 2 months and has not been moved.
And now that was the truck with the trailer with the car on it?
No.
Or that was a separate?
No, that's a separate vehicle.
Okay.
The orange truck is a separate vehicle, right there. And here is the car, the trailer with the car.
Okay, my apologies, I thought.
No, that's fine.
One and the same.
But this has got a big boom on it with a big hook that he used to pick up the stuff. And he did that probably starting around the 20th of November to about the 1st of December or so. They did a good job of cleaning up what they did. But there's tires laying around and some other stuff, but looking at this orange truck that's not being used, it's just getting to be too much.
Okay. We definitely will address the orange commercial truck.
Darrell, how about if, rather than set this up for our next meeting, would you and Dean, and if necessary, Oliver, get together? I'm confused now if we can do any more. I mean, there's a certain limit as to what we can do. And if you feel you need to come back to the board, Oliver, would you see me when we do the next agenda? But I would like somebody, rather than wait 2 weeks, I'd like somebody to get back to Mr. Taransky and at least tell you, can we do any more or can't we? I'm hoping we can, but I don't know. There's a certain limit to what we can do, but I don't want to make you wait 2 weeks for an answer, I think.
According to the resolution, which I have a copy of, there was, the debris was mentioned, and the vehicles, the overgrown brush, and things like that. I have not nitpicked this neighbor at all, and I think Dean would agree with me on that, because me and Dean have walked that property. I have not nitpicked this guy. But to take junk out and bring junk in, what's the use of anything? It is kind of redundant. And I think it should just be finalized and be done with this guy.
Sure. Well, I don't know if we can, but would you guys be willing to meet and get back to
Sure.
Bill as quick as you can? And if you need to put it on the agenda, I'm not saying you do, but if you do, let me know and we'll get it on the next agenda. I hate to put you off 2 weeks here, Bill. You do deserve an answer whether we can do any more, or don't you agree?
Sure.
We'll do the best we can.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions from you two?
Maybe, can we notify the other property owner and ask him to be here at our next meeting and, hopefully get this
Well, I'm thinking,
resolved?
John, if necessary.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, if I think it's necessary, that's a good point. If you gotta come back to the board, let's be sure he's here, the
Yep.
owner. And did you tell me he's got 2 properties there? Didn't you say that, Darrell?
Yes, he also has
I remember
property on the
when he was
corner of
here.
Bancroft and...
Yep, it's on the corner, I know.
Shetland.
It's Peter's old property.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Next item, Sue, to it. Sue's at 6051 Green Acre Road.
Good, I don't have to remember.
Yeah, we're trying to speed things up for our next meeting.
We'll try to be brief.
That's right.
I am requesting the properties that you're going to tear down soon, I hope, that since the deal based on the zoning change to commercial fell through, that it reverts back to what it was.
Wow, was that, Darrell? Is that you're on the spot again? Was that a conditional use, or how was that zoned?
I don't really know if it was, I don't remember if it was a PUD or what it was.
Yeah, that's what
But the thing is, I think the zoning change was based on that particular presentation, and since that is not the case anymore, and the deal fell through,
Well, I understand your concept, I just want to be sure that, well, tell us how that zoning took place, Darrell, if you know.
It's zone PUD,
Boy, excuse me.
I believe a straight PUD. I don't think there was an underlying zone district.
wasn't it C4 PUD?
It may have been, yeah, that sounds familiar. But the plan expired, well, it wasn't approved, but even if it had been approved, it would have expired because it wasn't built. So, Mr. Burrell, correct me if I'm wrong, but, so the property's still a PUD, there just isn't an approved plan for that PUD at this time? If that
PUD.
makes sense.
Yeah, I get it. PUD, no zoning, and no...
No, I think she's right that it is a C4 PUD.
Oh, it is a C4, oh.
I thought PUDs expire after 5 years.
Our PUD regulations that we have now have an expiration. That one would have predated our current PUD regulations. And again, it's just, if I'm not mistaken, it's the plan that expires. The zoning, the PUD zoning is still there, it's just the plan for that PUD.
So you're saying if and we're moving toward tearing this down, he's still got his C4 if he can get a...
C4 PUD, but if somebody
Yeah, I
wanted
gotcha.
to,
I think,
somebody would have to submit a new
a
plan.
new plan,
Right.
it would have to be approved,
Right.
but that's not Sue's, I think Sue's saying, can we get back to...
Doesn't it make sense when a property is set here this long, based on my history and my memory of working here, that these things sit, and they come back and change the zoning anyway? So why isn't it that way in the book?
There's a number of things that, with our new land use plan, Daryl's got quite a list, that's one of them. What happens when, well, I won't get into the other problems, but sometimes the construction drags out. There's all kinds of, I'd call them timing issues, and I know Daryl's got that on his list. But I'm wondering, can we solve this one? I'm wondering here, Daryl, would you talk to the prosecutor? I'm not sure we can do anything here, Sue. But I would...
Change the book, this is ridiculous.
Oh, no, I'm not
And the
saying...
history of these situations goes back long before I was even here.
Sure.
And they sit, and they sit, and they sit. And then when somebody comes along and finally does something, they change it anyway. So let it revert back to what it was.
Well, I'm not sure legally, I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just not sure legally we can
Have you done
do that.
changing the book? Is the zoning updated and all done?
The land use plan, yes.
Yeah, the zoning's updated.
Right, and
And-
that that
But
corner.
one of those recommendations was we clean up our zoning code. There's a number of issues. And then Darrell left us and we had another person, but we're back on it now. We lost probably 9 months or so on implementing those recommendations.
And the
I don't want to put that on you. It seems to me, Darrell, you could talk to the prosecutor and if Oliver has to be involved and see if we can do anything. My guess is we won't be able to, but let's look at it and let Sue know, call her. And if you need to come back to the board, I'm sure we'll be happy to.
Yeah, would the board recommend it change that zoning? Because it wouldn't be an applicant, it would have to be
I think you got a point there. I don't know, John, do you know? Could we make a change? The board initiated change. Back?
I'd have to check your zoning resolution, but since it's a PUD, I'm not sure you can just get rid of the PUD. If it's a regular zoning change, the board can initiate on its own, then it would have to go through the other zoning process under the planning commission, your zoning commission. With the PUD though, I thought your resolution says once it's a PUD, the owner has to request that the PUD be removed. I'd have to check your zoning resolutions to make sure of that. But that's what I thought it said.
But the owner's the trustee we're having trouble with, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the trustee, at least in terms of demolishing the house, has been fairly cooperative. In fact, I'm trying to get him now to agree to it, so we won't have to have hearings or anything like that. He's been fairly cooperative. His problem is the trustee has no money. That's only his problem. I don't know, we could ask if he'd be willing to get rid of the PUD. I'm not sure he would care, but he's just a trustee.
Well, what I'm wondering, I don't know if you could negotiate this, but, you know, he's got a money issue. We're trying to, I'm wondering if you guys could work it out that way, or maybe, I don't know if this is legal, John.
Well, I have to be a little more subtle.
But I suggest if you do this,
I know, yeah.
But if you do this, we'll do that, maybe we can work this out.
We have some, he needs some help, some of the shut-offs and things, and I thought of suggesting if you voluntarily agree to let us demolish it, we'll front the body for those shut-offs so we can get moving on this process. I could certainly draw up, we could talk to him about the PUD to see what he's, I don't think, frankly, they would care. I really don't.
Let's go that direction.
Okay.
And if we can, let's get back to Sue if we can before 2 weeks.
I'm sorry, I don't know you.
I'm John.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that all right, Sue? We'll try to get back to you. At least let Sue know.
Anything that you can do would be great.
Well, at least let you know what we're gonna try to do. Maybe if you have to come back to the board, that's fine. You guys, if you would, work it out.
We'll see if we can work something out. Okay.
I appreciate that. Is that okay with you, Neil?
Yeah, that's fine.
John?
Yeah.
Sound good? Thanks, Neil.
Thanks, Sue.
And the land
Plenty of work ahead.
The land use plan recommendation for those parcels is office commercial, if I'm not mistaken. So a zone change more than likely would just go from the PUD to a straight C4.
Here's my concern. My concern is if, you know, change of people up, structure up here, somebody comes in with a C2. I mean, be careful what you wish for, right? Because somebody put C2 there. At least we've got to know, we've got a PUD underlying Sue. Again, I'm just, we don't know all the details here,
Closer
but
control, yeah.
there's more control for your neighborhood the way it's set now.
Right.
As opposed to, if we unwind this, you could, be careful what you wish for, you may have something you don't want there.
The county says there will not be a curb cut on Holland, Sylvania. The neighbors will come off the wall if they try to put a commercial driveway on a residential street.
Is that a condition of that plat
That
you're
was
talking?
mentioned during that whole program. The county will not allow a curb cut on Holland, Sylvania.
That's correct.
Today.
We will come unglued if it's a residential street with a commercial driveway.
At that last PUD request, yeah, the county engineer.
Because you don't have a plan, you don't know, I get it.
Right, but with the last one,
Well, Mr. Mahoney
the
brings
county
up,
engineer would not allow a curb cut on.
Mr. Mahoney brings up a good point, that when you've got a PUD, we have the control of the plan.
And then they reneged, you know, when George Orbit said, well, we'll go C4 PUD then. But they wanted a C2 originally. And then when the county said, no driveway on Holland, Sylvania, and then even around Greenacre, that driveway has to be so far back, which would put it on residential property.
Yeah, I think it's 150 feet. I don't know if that lot's that deep. I don't, we don't have a
It's
plan.
deep, but-
We don't have a plan anyway, so let's,
Pretty up to date.
thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
You're gonna be busy, Darrell. Thank you. I think that's our last, didn't from my page 2 or 3. Okay, I think the next item would be adjournment of our business meeting, or do you want to leave that open for the zoning? I suppose we'd recess, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
I think we probably should recess. So we'll recess for the zoning meeting at 5:44. And then we'll reconvene at 6 o'clock. First meeting of January for the Sylvania Township Board of Trustees. Today is January 7th, and the time is 6:01. And now we're into the zoning portion of our regular meeting. And the first item on the agenda is a public hearing for a zone change at 3137 Knoll Avenue. And we'll use our normal procedure. If some of you haven't been here before, our zoning manager updates us on where we're at in the process, and the board may or may not have discussion with our zoning manager. And next, we ask the proponents of the project to speak. And please, if you can, listen carefully to them. And the board may have discussion, and then we'll hear any comments or questions. And if you have a question, we don't like to get into the questions at the time. We'll make notes, or the developer will make notes. Then we'll go back to him if he wants to address questions or concerns. And then we'll get back to the board, and we may or may not have a conversation trying to come up with a motion. And then obviously the last thing we do is vote on the motion. If you could, please listen carefully and try not to repeat. If you hear an item that is your concern, if we hear it once, hopefully we make some good notes up here and keep track of it. We'd like to give you at least 2 or 3 minutes. We're not too strict on that. But if I go like this, that means you're getting long, and try to wrap it up if you would for us. And I hope that's all we need to do this evening. And this is not a debate, but we do want to hear from the public, and we want to hear from the proponent. And with that, we start out with Darrell. He is our zoning manager, and he will talk about where we're at for the zoning request at 3137 Knoll Avenue.
Good evening again. Imran, if you can scroll down to, it's page, it's probably about the 4th. Actually, that one's good, that photo right there. Thank you. The applicant is requesting a change in zoning from RA Suburban Residential to C2 General Commercial for the property at 3137 Knoll Avenue. The parcel is zoned residential. The Sylvania Township Land Use Plan recommends general commercial uses for this parcel. Single-family residential abuts the subject property on the north and northeast. Actually, Imran, if you can go to the next picture down. Thank you. Commercial uses, specifically new and used auto sales, abut the subject lot on the east, west, and the south. In November 2016, the property owners petitioned the Lucas County Commissioners for the vacation of a portion of Knoll Avenue. This vacated portion starts where Knoll Avenue intersects Mortimer Drive and extends 241 feet north to a line corresponding with the southern property line of the subject property. The The Commissioners approved the vacation in April 2017 based on the condition that the applicants comply with the requests of the Lucas County Engineers Office and the needs of the Sylvania School Board to design, construct, and pay for an adequate turnaround and dedicate any additional right-of-way. The design and construction of the turnaround shall meet the standards of the Engineers Office and be subject to that office's approval. The applicants agreed to these conditions. The reason for this zone change request is to allow for a better designed turnaround by the applicant, as well as allow the applicant to install an approximate 9-space vehicle storage lot for excess inventory belonging to the automobile dealership. Lucas County Plan Commission and Sylvania Township Zoning Commission both unanimously recommended approval of this zone change request. Zoning staff recommends approval with conditions of a zone change request from RA Suburban Residential to C2 General Commercial for the property at 3137 Knoll Avenue for the following 3 reasons. 1, the zone change request is consistent with the goals, objectives, and intent of the 2018 Sylvania Township Land Use Plan. 2, a zone change to C2 General Commercial is consistent with the surrounding zoning and uses. And 3, the requested zone change should have minimal negative effect upon the nearby properties. Staff further recommends that the following 2 conditions be placed upon the approval of the requested zone change to C2 General Commercial for the property at 3137 Knoll Avenue. 1, an 8-foot privacy fence or 6-foot privacy fence on a 2-foot earthen mound shall be located along the abutting residential use to the north as a buffer from the commercial use of the subject parcel. And 2, that the subject parcel shall be combined with the greater parcel located at 6300 West Central Avenue.
Any questions for Darrell from the board at this point? Okay, the proponents? Next.
The applicant is here as well.
Okay.
Good evening, Jerry Parker for the applicant Taylor Properties. It's a pretty simple zoning request. It's the last one we'll make. As you can see, the rezoning, there's commercial across the street, so this line basically makes the commercial equal on both sides. And the sole purpose of this is to allow for the turnaround to be a better functioning turnaround, a better turnaround, because as was mentioned, this has been vacated a couple of years ago. We'll move the fence. There's a white 6-foot nice fence, vinyl fence, that'll move to the north property line. And as has been indicated, it's compliant with the land use plan and commercial uses all around it. So that's the only reason for the zoning change. The house will come down, we'll put a nice turnaround in there to accommodate everything that needs to be accommodated, including the school buses.
As I recall, Jerry, I think you've got a turnaround here.
Right, and this will
I
make...
like that because this building's got doors and overhead here, and if we're coming in to plow it, now they're putting the snow. I mean, I'm real pleased to see a better, that wasn't a turnaround.
We would have done it before, but we couldn't acquire the piece. The piece was under foreclosure. We couldn't have acquired it earlier, and we would have. As I said, this makes the commercial line go straight across. It'll be the last rezoning we seek, and the only purpose of it is to create, as has been indicated by Trustee Crandall, a better and more efficient and safer turnaround.
But doesn't your vacated road end here?
Yes, it does.
So, I guess, I'm guessing here, we haven't seen the turnaround plan. So you may need to vacate more, or you're just gonna give us an easement?
We're just going to give you an easement on it, yeah.
Okay.
Not a problem.
And we haven't seen the new turnaround.
No, we're waiting to design.
That's
the zoning is...
That's the county engineer anyway.
Correct.
I didn't like the old one.
No, because
remember that.
we didn't
At
have
least you're
full use of everything.
spending the money to straighten that out. Any other comments of the proponent? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue with questions or concerns? On Knoll Avenue? All right.
Do we open and close a public hearing? Isn't
Yes,
where that's
we do.
supposed to- Okay.
Yep. So we'll close the public hearing at 6:10. And I'll make a resolution number 20004 to approve a zone request from R1 Suburban to C2 residential for the property at 3137 Knoll Avenue.
Second.
Call roll, Mr. Dowling?
Yes.
Mr. Maloney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And now we'll open up the hearing at 6:11 for the Waterside PUD. And Darrell, would you update the board and the people here?
Yes. Imran, if you could go down to the following one, under Resolution 20005. I'm sorry, the one that says Trustees Staff Report, under 20005. Thank you. Yeah, just keep scrolling down. Near the end of is the site plan. The next one. Thank you. In December 2004, the Sylvania Township Board of Trustees approved a zone change request from A3 Agriculture to a Planned Unit Development, PUD, for a 195-acre development to be known as Waterside, Sylvania. The original PUD comprised 14 plats, 466 lots, and 34 acres of open space. There was one access drive on Sylvania Avenue and two stub streets, one each on the south and the east, to connect to future development. Gulfstream Development, the property owner and applicant for this amendment request, no longer owns the parcel south of Smith Ditch. Plats 9 through 14 will not be developed as planned. Plats 1 through 7 are already in existence, and Plat 8 is a portion of the PUD that is the subject of this amendment request. The applicant is requesting this amendment to the previously approved PUD for Waterside, Sylvania, and has also submitted a revised preliminary drawing to the Lucas County Plan Commission for that body's approval in January 2020. This latest revision will decrease the number of lots in the PUD to 229 on approximately 76 acres. Additionally, when the original PUD was approved, it was approved as a straight PUD with no underlying zone district. This designation no longer exists in the Sylvania Township zoning resolution. All PUDs now have an appropriate underlying zone district. The 3.01 units per acre density of the proposed amended Waterside, Sylvania is most consistent with the R1 PUD requirement of a maximum 3.87 units per acre. Therefore, an approval of the PUD amendment will also redesignate the zoning of these parcels from PUD to R1 PUD. Staff recommends approval with conditions of the requested amendment to the previously approved PUD for Waterside, Sylvania for the following 4 reasons. 1, the PUD amendment request is consistent with the goals, objectives, and intent of the 2018 Sylvania Township Land Use Plan. 2, the PUD amendment request is consistent with the Sylvania Township zoning resolution. 3, the PUD amendment request is compatible with surrounding zoning and uses. And 4, the requested zone change should have minimal negative effect upon the nearby properties. I'm sorry, that's the requested amendment, not zone change. Staff further recommends that the approval of the amendment to the PUD for Waterside, Sylvania be subject to the 43 conditions noted in the Lucas County Plan Commission staff report of December 18, 2019. And the applicant is here as well.
Any questions of Darrell from the board? All right, we'll go to the proponent next.
Good evening. The applicant is Gulfstream Development. I'm Dwayne Ankney, part of that entity. I know things have changed. If you scroll back, can you go back to one picture? Yeah, right there. That originally was the Waterside, Sylvania approval in '04. We're discussing the area that is the rectangular piece up on the top only, that basically is part of Waterside, Sylvania as we know it today. The parcel to the south is not part of the community at all and is under separate ownership from our company. So our purpose for asking for the change is there was connectivity from this parcel down to this parcel because there was a portion of this that was going to mirror somewhat the outline of the site plan that you see on the northern portion here. Since we are no longer involved with this community stops right here at Smith Ditch and is part of the program that is only to the north. I know you've changed things, and this is a zoning hearing. We agree with the zoning and all the comments that Mr. Rouse read, and there are a couple site plan issues. Is that something that is appropriate to bring up this evening, or is that under your new program at a different hearing time?
I think it's appropriate now, don't you,
Okay.
Darrell? Darrell, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I would think this would be the ideal time to...
To me, we're looking at where we're gonna be someday.
Okay, I'm glad to bring it up. The general layout of this configuration has not changed since that approval that you see up there. Lot sizes have changed a little bit. They got like a couple feet wider, a few things like that have changed, but the overall plan has not changed. The thing that has changed is connectivity to the southern piece, which would be the connectivity that you would have here at this area. And what we had proposed and was heard at the Lucas County Plan Commission a few weeks ago was that the connectivity to the south, due to the fact that Waterside, Sylvania is a 55 and over community, we do not have children in the community that are necessarily residents, not that we couldn't have, but they would be more likely to be grandchildren, would be more likely to be visiting. So there would be no reason for children to have connectivity, ride their bicycle to visit a friend or whatever. The south piece, which is this entire 125-acre parcel right here, will more than likely be developed into a product that in no way is consistent with Waterside, Sylvania. The underlying zoning on that falls under the previous Waterside or previous Sylvania Township zoning. I believe it was called mixed-use PUD, which means there could be apartments, there could be commercial. Matter of fact, the southern piece down here was set aside at the time of the approval, thinking that it very well could be commercial because of the Central Avenue exposure. So what we have asked is that we asked that there was at one time connectivity coming from Waterside here over into Richfield Township. I believe that was granted in the fact that we did not have to have connectivity to that portion, and that was discussed downtown at the Lucas County Plan Commission. We have a connectivity coming from this side of the parcel over into this farm here, which is a creaky farm, and we support that. The connectivity that we had to the south is no longer necessary because this is not part of the community. We have proposed that we would put, for purposes of fire and emergency, we would put connectivity, which in effect is a stub street coming down to the property line here, and we would do that in the form of a stabilized subgrade, which would allow for fire and rescue equipment in the event that the south parcel is developed to be able to enter into Waterside, Sylvania from the south. I have met with the fire chief. We've discussed that connectivity being a stabilized subgrade rather than an actual through street. And they have looked at it and they have agreed that the type of stabilized subgrade that is required by Lucas County, which is a road bed, it is special pavers that are put down and grass seed put on top, so it looks like a green area, but it is known to the fire and to the rescue people of being their access into the property. And Chief Ram agrees with that. So we would ask that that connectivity be part of the fire and rescue, that would not actually be a street surface that would ultimately come into the Waterside, Sylvania community. That is the main thing that we've asked. We discussed the islands that are in the roadway. This is the only community in all of Lucas County that we're aware of where there are islands in the roadway. They are traffic inhibitors as far as speeding, and they do look very, very nice. The Plan Commission suggested if we worked with the engineers, they did not want us to remove them, but we might want to consider making them narrower to have more available traffic through the community, because if someone lives on the islands that were originally proposed in the streets, and by the way have been built in the portions of the plats that are there now, if someone parks in front of a home that is fronting on the island, it is very difficult to get through because the roadway is not a full 2 lanes wide due to the island. So it was discussed heavily downtown at the Plan Commission, and agreed that if we worked it out, we might want to make them a little bit smaller to get more road surface in front of the homes that are facing on those islands.
Can I interrupt real quick? Do you mind if we get off the 2004 plan? Just so...
The what?
The one that was approved in 2004.
Right.
I'm gonna keep thinking of, this is...
You mean the plan we're looking at?
Yeah, 15 years later.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Emron. Sorry to interrupt you there.
That particular plan is the plan that is part of the proposal that we submitted. And everything you see on the left side, which is the Sylvania Avenue side, and you see the boulevarded island going in off of Sylvania Avenue, everything has been built over to the road stops right here. This is all built, and this is built over to right here. This is our last plat that we just put in, finished it a couple months ago. What is remaining to be built is from here on around along Smith Ditch and coming back up here and tying into the last plat that's been built on the northerly side. Excuse me, easterly side.
Thank you.
This is where we are proposing someplace in here would be the stabilized subgrade that would go down into the southern parcel. And that's the real thing I'm asking for, is that to be approved versus through traffic coming in from whatever does get built down there.
Well, I think even if we approved it, that's a plat condition. I mean,
I agree.
we could agree, it sounds good to us, but that's the county, I'm sure, and the county engineer.
And am I correct that there would be another hearing here? Or is this the final hearing
Would it be, Joe?
that you would have on the site plan?
No, we won't have another one.
No, you'd be dealing with the county on the plat.
Okay, and the county has notified us that since they are dealing with the site plans, that they would be, I think, hearing us maybe in February on site plan. I didn't know if their site plan review came back to you as a group or not.
Not normally, right, Joe?
We agree with everything that the county has proposed, other than we have talked to the fire chief, and he has agreed that a stabilized subgrade going to the south piece would be acceptable with him.
I'm not sure this board's aware of that. Darrell, are you aware?
No.
Or are you, Oliver?
I wish we could have kept.
Yeah, we should have kept the chief here. I don't know that that's a big, that could probably be worked out, and I think you're talking about what I call pavers.
Yes.
What they've got behind Waterford Bank, across from Kroger's, there's a piece of property that the fire department went through with the city of Sylvania and approved a similar plan on Sylvania Avenue, which is a subgrade geotech product.
That's exactly right.
That may not be a bad solution, but we would certainly leave that up to the fire chief and the county, because they do our roads for us in the planning. I mean, if it could be worked out there.
Yes, I'm just making a comment that there's two spots.
My reaction is, right now it doesn't, but we haven't heard, we're not complete yet tonight. Any other questions for the developer?
I actually have a question.
Sure.
Who would maintain that, the paver
Okay.
connectivity?
Chief Ram and I discussed that. The homeowners association would be responsible for maintaining that. It would be public right-of-way, it would be the pavers and everything. They would be responsible for maintaining it and for snow removal. And snow removal is an issue that in some communities would be an issue, but Waterside, Sylvania has its own snow crew because we remove all the snow for driveways, front city walks, approaches, and so forth. So crews are there, and Chief Ram just simply asked that somehow we would commit to, in writing, to however that is asked of by either the county or by the township, that Waterside, Sylvania would be responsible for snow removal on the stabilized subgrade.
I think we could work it out, Dewey, but if it's public right-of-way, it's ours. And even if you say the homeowners association, you go to the homeowners, they say there's no money, guess what? It's public right-of-way, it's ours. But I think we could work that out as a private easement or fire connection. I don't think it's unworkable, but if that's a solution, I don't think the township would want the right-of-way. Because, 20 years from now, things happen, and suddenly we've got another, it seems to me we might have another improvement to take care of.
What we discussed is this plat has not yet been designed, and the right-of-way, or not the right-of-way, but the stabilized subgrade would be put in here someplace, and the chief and I discussed that when we record the documents for that plat, which is part of the overall subdivision, there would be a stipulation in there that the homeowners association would maintain that, as far as the grass and the pavers and everything's put in there, and that they will also be responsible for snow removal. And we're fully in agreement with that. We put one of these, by the way, in another Waterside project, just like we're talking about here.
Well, you're saying you're agreeing with all the conditions, but one of the conditions is to connect a public road south, and I'm okay with what you're telling me. Wasn't there also a road to the west required by the plan commission? At least that's my reading of it.
You are correct. There used to be a road to the west, and in our hearing a couple weeks ago, the plan commission agreed to remove that because westerly there is no development in Richfield Township, and probably will not be, and if it is, it has been discussed that it would be like large, maybe 1 or 2 acre home sites. So the connectivity from the south and from the east seemed to be part of the discussion in the Lucas County Plan Commission that they were okay with. Joe, is that in your report?
I did not, that's not the way I read it, but let's keep, we can check that while we continue to talk. But and didn't the plan commission ask you for another island in this new development? And you said the width might change due to parking.
The plan commission had quite a discussion on the islands, and the one thing that they said is they would like for the islands to stay, which we have no problem with. They said if we wanted to make them narrower to get a little bit more road pavement in front of the homes facing the islands, that we should work that out with the Lucas County Engineer's Office, of which if we decided to do that, we would work that out with them when it comes time for the plat to be taken in.
So you are agreeing to another island?
Yes, there is an island.
Up in this area?
Right here.
Yeah, that's
right here. And yeah, we're not trying to take it out. They did say if it were desired to be narrowed, that the Lucas County Engineer's Office would need to work with us on that to make sure that they were comfortable. Our only question that we will be asking that is different than the approval that the Plan Commission made us is a stabilized subgrade going south.
Item number 35, I believe says the second, well, 34 addresses the connection to the east, I think. Doesn't 35, that talks about a location to the south, which you're explaining might be pavers, provided let's just say, provided our fire chief in the county agrees to it. And then item number 36 says a secondary road connection shall be provided to the adjacent land located to west. And I think you're saying they agreed not to do that. Am I reading that condition right, Darrell? Have you got that in front of you? Item number 36.
Yes, also item number 10 from the Lucas County Engineer's Office references the future connection to Central Avenue. So basically 10 and 35 are the same.
But 10, as Chief says, we can work it out, we've solved 10. I think we've solved 10 and 35, but I think...
And 34 is a connection to the east.
Got it, but isn't 36 a connection to the west, or am I?
Correct.
What am I missing? But I think you're saying, Dewey, that the Plan Commission agreed you didn't need one to the west, and I certainly don't find that here.
According to Bill Harbert, and I don't know, I have not received a report in writing from that. That was just a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. According to Bill, the connectivity, which would actually be a stub street, traditional stub street to the west, had been removed, but the one to the south had not, so our only question is, can we make the one to the south?
Oh, you're saying in the prior plat?
Yes, in the prior plat.
Can we go back to the,
2004?
yeah, go back to the first, I see what you're saying now. You're saying you didn't have a connection to the west on this,
That is correct.
on this drawing. Well, we sure gave you one in these comments. But,
Well, you know, there was a whole different plan back in '04, and there have been some significant changes on you know, the bottom portion of what is now known as Waterside, Sylvania, because it is not going to flow down into that southern piece like it initially was intended to.
I'd like to give our chief a call, but my phone's in my office. Would it be all right with everybody if I just take a short break here? I'd like to call our chief and just, not that I don't trust you, but
No, I understand.
I'm real surprised when our zoning person and administrator and the three trustees, you know, we don't know about it. And if I say the vice chair takes over, then I'm going to miss some of the conversation. So if you would excuse me for a minute, is that okay?
Or Oliver could call and we can continue.
Yeah, Oliver, would you get Chief Sam a call?
Sure.
Talk about pavers, and I certainly feel strongly, though, if you can do that, I don't know I'm comfortable with it, but I don't want to impose right away.
I understand.
Because if the homeowners, you know, sometimes homeowners associations, 20 years later, have some issues, and I just don't want it to be a township issue.
Well, and that's why the chief and I talked about the fact if we put it of record in the documents of the community, that is an enforceable document both by the community and any other entity, because it is of record and stating a requirement.
Sure.
So, I agree.
If there's no more discussion with the developer, let's move to comments from the public or questions. If you have a question, just to keep our time, we'll make a note of it, and I'd ask the developer to make a note of it, if he can address it, or he may not be able to address it, but that's fine. And I don't know if you have a spokesman. If you'd like to speak, we'd like your name and address. I don't think anyone signed up to speak, but that doesn't mean you can't. Just be sure to give us your name and address if you'd like to speak. Or if you have questions, we don't want to get into a debate back and forth, but we'll make a list of the questions and we'll ask the developer to address them if he can. All right? So is there anyone that would like to speak toward this? I'm assuming you're all from Waterside.
Yeah, we
Yes.
represent Waterside.
Do you have an association president or one of the officers here?
We still have control of the, at this point, so we don't officially have the...
Well, we don't, I just thought maybe whoever it is would like to be a spokesperson, but that's fine.
The developer, Gulfstream, remains the officer.
Well, you're probably
and control.
you still got control.
But you've got a great group of people here.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
The developer's usually in control till you get to us.
I'd like to make a few comments.
Sure, sir.
Could you step up to the mic?
Can you step up to the microphone? And please give us your name and your address.
Good evening, my name is Dave Wisniewski,
WISNIEWSKI, live at 9627 Schooner Court. I think what Dwayne is getting at about that south entrance, if they do build apartments back there, you're gonna have an age range of 18 to 60, say, because I'm sure they're gonna be 2 to 3 stories, and you're not gonna have an elderly person living up on a 3rd floor. Once that traffic, if that's an open road coming through there with the commercial in front of that, it's gonna be a shortcut from Central Avenue over to Sylvania Avenue instead of going down to Kilburn or backtracking to Centennial Avenue. With us, right now, we have maybe 10, 15 people walking from 5:30 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning till about 8, doing their exercises. And as we're getting older, I look for people to be maybe pushing a walker and that around them, and cutting across the streets and that. And having traffic come flying through there, for a shortcut. I know everybody's been young at once and you like to put a little rubber on the street. It's not gonna work in that type of community. Right now, most of us, when we go anyplace, we walk. Very few take car. I mean, once it gets bigger and it gets down that plat finishes in the very corner there, you might have people driving to the clubhouse and that, to the swimming pool. But there's constantly people walking, especially in the summer. We have an open park. Your grandchildren come, they can go fish, they can go to the swimming pool as a guest, so people walk. And I think that's the main concern of ours, is we don't want the traffic coming through there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Next?
Good evening. My name is Michael Cook, C-O-O-K. I live at 3825 Sanibel. Prior, I lived in the same development at 9645 Schooner Court. So I'm one of the original, secondary originals, okay? And when I first bought, it was an encapsulated development. It was one way in, one way out. We haven't had access and egress east, west, or south. With the change in the redevelopment of the southern portion, we're being exposed now to, we're a smaller development than we were originally designed to be, and now we're being exposed to the possibility of traffic entering from the south, let alone from the east. And the east really affects me too, because on Sanibel, I'm the east, Sanibel is the east road, okay, running north-south. So I've already got the possibility when Creaky finally gives up and builds something back there, I could almost see that. But coming from Central Avenue, you have to convince me of a really good reason why you need access. I hear that it's for safety and security, but at the moment, we must be in extreme peril because we don't have that access. So, that's my point, and thank you for my time.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Dwayne, question for you. What do you think it would cost to put a bridge across that creek and go through all the EPA, and I'm talking 20 years from now, whenever this might happen, because there's some other things on that property. A, getting water down that far is a big problem. 2, the sewer line on Central Avenue is way deep. So I'm just saying, somebody that ever developed that front property on Central Avenue is going to spend an absolute ton of money to get to that.
I do not know what that would cost.
The bridge, just the EPA, just getting a bridge designed.
Yeah, it would have to be totally controlled by all the entities.
Take years.
And it has never been discussed. There is a real question because it is a farm ditch that originates way west into Richfield Township and ends up at 10 Mile Creek. And it is going to be an issue. I actually have looked on areas to see if there's any other community that has ever crossed that, and there has not been. We're willing to put the stabilized subgrade in, knowing that there might be a time when there's a bridge has to be put across there, or some type of a structural entity that is going to be able to keep water flowing through that down to 10 Mile Creek.
Yeah, I just think it's a good gazillion dollars to have that.
It could be a possibility that the stub streets from, let's say, the Creaky property would be enough access to get into Waterside, Sylvania in the event, from an emergency standpoint, in the event that the front opening on Sylvania Avenue were shut down for some reason. We have a community of 600 homes in.
Physically, you still gotta cross it even with this idea. It'd probably be a culvert.
I don't think anybody's ever crossed that I'm aware of. We checked it.
Yeah.
So,
Are there any other comments or questions from anyone here?
So I want to clarify a little bit here. So that the development that's south of the existing development,
Yes.
the PUD, is that expired, and who owns that property now, and what are the future intentions for it? I mean, is it for sale, or what's?
that property is 125 acres. There are 27 acres of the southern property that are owned by, what's the name of the company? It's Dock Trees.
Yeah.
Okay? There's a corporate LLC there. The reason that property, that 27 acres is split off from the 125 acres on the entire south piece is the sewer runs all the way down through Waterside, Sylvania to the south. It runs across the northern portion of the southern parcel, and then it runs down the eastern portion of the southern parcel to the lift station that we built on Central Avenue back in '05. So we had to acquire that land to be able to run that sewer down through there. And that's why it was split off from the rest of the farm. The balance of the 95 acres that are remaining that are pure farm are owned by various members of the Creaky family.
So one last question, sorry.
Let's take a quick break. Darrell or Oliver, what did the chief say? Let's catch up there.
Yes, he thought that was last Friday, or maybe Monday, that Mr. Ankney and Mr. Ram discussed, or Chief Ram discussed this, and he's okay with it as long as the fire vehicles can drive on it and that it is maintained. Yeah, he's...
Tell him in the future to give at least the administrator a jingle. So he's confirming that's
Yes.
acceptable to him?
Yes.
And I do understand that development to the south, if you look at our land use plan, I didn't bring that, but Darrell, you know, we show office, light industrial,
Correct.
and they're coming down with our run. Something's, I don't know what future boards will do, but that's not a good mix, back to back. Yet we do need more than one access for 229 homes here or whatever we're gonna have. It's just good planning. And the gentleman that talked about connectivity, and you talked about it also, that's the number one issue we came up with our land use plan. And we're struggling with that because subdivisions get built with bike trails and they get built with bikeways and sidewalks, and then the subdivisions don't connect along the county roads. The county, when they're doing an improvement, will add those facilities, but if they're not doing an improvement, they're not allowed to build them. So we've got and the board has talked about this with our future land use plan. We're trying to figure out how can we start to fund to make these connections. And in this case, and I'm not saying we should change that, but you talk about biking and trying to get to Secor Park, well, that connection's gonna be on Kilburn, so should someday there be a connection from your subdivision to Kilburn, our land use plan would say absolutely, but how do we fund that? We're not looking for new things to fund as a board. We're trying to take care of what we've got, but we know that's in the future, so connectivity is an important thing to our community. It's one of the things we really need to work on. We got a great community, great neighborhoods, but boy, some of the connections to the facilities and between communities and to the park system, it's not what we would like to see. And we're working on that with the new land use plan. Are there any other, Darrell, is there anything else you want to say, or anything, Dewey, you want to say? That you want to add to this? I think we're down. I'm still confused about the connection to the west. And the other comment I would have is...
The western side's built out though already, right?
Oh, that's Richfield Township.
No, that's Richfield, that's...
No, but I mean, there's...
Oh, yes, in this development, yeah.
There's not much we have to say there.
Well, no, there's nothing we have to say, but I think good planning and trying to look at your neighbors, I'll give you the example up around Little Road where we got heavy industry, and the city puts residential right next to it. Just because it's another jurisdiction, I think we still have a responsibility to try to think about the future. I don't know what'll happen here, but in my mind, if anything happens here, the development's got to come from Sylvania Avenue. If there was a connection here, and if they continued this type of development this way, that'd be horrible. We're adding even more lots. In the same way to the east, even though you've agreed to it, Dewey. What concerns me is, what if somebody buys the rear of Kriegie's and continues this type of development? Somehow that access, and I don't know how to control it, but it really, this development should, the adjacent development to the east should start on Sylvania Avenue, and then you make that connection in the future. That's what I think should happen. I don't know how we control all that. Sometimes there's no answer, no good answer for issues.
My questions are answered.
Well, right now, if we approve this, in my mind, the connection is to the west. That's what
No, the 2004 plan doesn't have it. The PUD of 2004 that was approved. There's no...
We're approving this with 43 conditions.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
What I'm saying is, I agree with you, it isn't on there, we just pulled that out
Right.
when we went back, but the plan commission definitely, do you agree with me, Darrell? Well, they're saying that connection could be made. Now, if Dewey goes back and he can work it out, I guess that's not under our control anyway. But I think if we're approving this, we're approving it with the conditions as presented. That's what we have in the staff report, correct?
Right, the board can approve it minus condition, for example, the condition 36 from Lucas County Plan Commission staff. It's a recommendation, it's not a requirement that there be
How can we control a plat condition, Darrell? I'm sorry, but I tend to disagree, and I don't want to call John Morrell. Well, this is already making enough calls. I don't think we can. But I think we can approve this, and if one of the 40-some conditions changes, that's not us anyway. Those are the other agencies that you deal with. We only control the zoning.
Right, and this is an amendment to the PUD, it's not conditions to a plat per se. So the trustees can add or delete, probably not engineers' comments, I think those are all requirements. but certainly the Plan Commission staff comments, those are recommendations, not...
You and I differ on that, but we're not gonna solve that right now. The other question I didn't give an answer to is Mr. Genuine's. When he says the PUD still exists to the south, in my mind, it doesn't, because the applicant is now changing and he's not doing anything south.
And has it been 5 year, or approved before our 5
Well, I don't know if the five, that's one of the old ones with no zoning.
Correct.
There's no underlying zoning.
So this is pretty much the same thing as our conversation earlier this evening. The zoning to the south would still be PUD, but the plan would have expired.
Are you saying the zoning's still there, south of Smith Ditch?
Yes, I'd have to look at our zoning map, but I'm 99% sure it's...
Oh, no, I know it's on the zoning map.
PUD.
My point is, Gulfstream's saying we're no longer the owner there.
Right.
And we gave that PUD to Gulfstream. They're no longer the owner, they're coming in with the revised plan, and you're saying the former, or the new owner, that's the former PUD there, and it's mixed use, or, well, we don't have an underlying.
That it's PUD, but there's no current plan.
Well, I'm not convinced on that one. I followed you on Allen's your road, because you had C4 underlying there. You know what I'm saying?
Right, well, it's still the same thing. The PUD, the approved plan expired, but the PUD zoning is still there.
And
Until it's rezoned or until the new...
But there's no underlying zoning there.
I'm sorry?
There's no underlying zoning,
No.
and it's not the same applicant. And you're telling me it's still there?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Well, I'm a little hesitant on that. John, you asked the question, but I think it was a good question, because I don't know that I...
At a future date, could a road be put in at this right of way, or is it going to be limited, so it'd be just emergency vehicles?
On the southern connectivity...
Yeah.
Route?
Gotta get a bridge built.
If it's my thought...
I think that's a lot less difficult. I mean, those...
That's why I'd like it not to be
Drop it there.
public,
Yeah.
because if it's public, yes, it could.
Yeah.
If it's a private easement controlled by the homeowners association for fire access, the developer to the south, even if you wanted to connect, you'd have to deal with the homeowners association.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I do.
That would be, you're the title.
No, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think...
It eliminates the questions that were brought earlier about connectivity.
Yeah.
You guys get in your association, done deal.
Yeah, but if it was in the public right of way, I don't think there'd be a way of stopping him from doing that.
I think Redwood did that off Central as well.
Well, they
Did
put
it
up
inside neighborhood.
they put up the barricades.
Yeah.
You can cross over.
Well, how confused are you guys tonight? Sorry. You're probably thinking, I'm ready for Jeopardy at 8 o'clock. I know about you guys, I know I am, so.
Well,
So what are we doing?
Here's my thoughts. I'd like to approve it. I think, I'd like to make a motion, but I don't want to put in that we're eliminating a condition by the plan commission. I think we approve it the way we got it, and then it's up to the plan commission for the connection to the west. That's what I'd like to do, is approve it with these conditions. And Darrell, you and I will have a conversation with Mr. Burrell. I don't think the PUD still exists to the south, but we can't solve that tonight. And then then we wind up with a connection to the east and the pavers to the south, and we'll leave it up. I think we ought to approve it with these conditions.
Okay.
And I'll make that motion. I'll make resolution 20-005 to approve the amendment to the previously approved PUD for Waterside with R1 zoning and the conditions of the Lucas County Plan Commission. And if you can work that out, that's not our control in my mind.
Okay, call roll, Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Randall?
Yes. Thank you very much for coming. Thanks. We appreciate it. Next, I'd like to move that we adjourn at 7 o'clock.
Second?
Okay, call roll, Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Randall?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.